The world's most and least developed countries have historically taken different approaches to combating climate change. The Paris approach is calling for every nation to make a pledge to do what they can. And CCTV's Jessica Stone is joining us now with more on the role China will be playing as they try and balance between these two groups of nations as they deal with this issue.
And they're really forming a bridge in many ways, Mike. Like the developed nations, China has made emissions reductions pledges of its own, but President Xi Jinping is also taking a very public stance on behalf of other developing nations.
They are the two most vital voices on climate change at the Paris climate talks, Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Barack Obama. President Xi has pledged to try and reach his goal of peaking emissions by 2030 ahead of time, but he's also proven to be a forceful advocate for other developing nations.
Addressing climate change should not deny the legitimate needs of developing countries to reduce poverty and improve people's living standards.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi paints the picture vividly. Imagine what it takes to bring energy access to millions of Indians, all while polluting less than developed nations did to achieve the same goal.
We have to ensure, in the spirit of climate justice, that the life of a few does not crowd out the opportunities for the many still on the initial steps of the development ladder.
India has joined China, the United States, and 17 other countries committing to double clean energy research funding over the next 5 years. Microsoft's Bill Gates and other investors will pledge $7 billion towards the development and research of clean energy technology.
In the area of medicine, basic government research laid the foundation that allowed the private sector to come in and now create great new medicines. And that's the same dynamic that we're trying to create here.
While oil-producing states like Saudi Arabia have signed on to this clean energy initiative, they are wary of final climate agreement language that suggests fossil fuels have to be phased out completely. At the same time, U.S. President Barack Obama says a final climate deal must acknowledge the needs of developing nations.
Helping developing nations skip the dirty phase of development is vital to meeting this challenge.
And a key focus at these talks will be growing the Green Climate Fund. Both the U.S. and China have pledged $3 billion to that fund, but the goal is to muster $100 billion a year. And as of November 2015, the Green Climate Fund has raised $10.2 billion equivalent in pledges from 38 state governments. Mike?